Ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday night, and I am here, Drew Bedard, back with you on Honorable Mention Sports. I'm here with my good friend Jeff Attinella from Smack Apparel. What's up, Jeff?
Just getting ready for this Monday night game. Throwing up a couple prayers for the good old Buccaneers down here in Tampa.
Love it, man. Love it. And yeah, you got your gear on tonight, Bucks gear.
Yes, sir. We got the shake and bake. He's our only
Shake and
hope.
bake. I love that. That might be my favorite T-shirt that you guys have done. So
Yeah,
well
it's been
done there.
fun. It's our only hope tonight. He needs to throw. He needs to throw for about 4 touchdowns and probably about 300 plus yards. We'll see how it goes.
Well, he's done it before this season, so it's anything's possible with Baker. He's a wild card, so you gotta love him. All right, man. So we're gonna do a little quick Week 9 NFL breakdown. Go back and look at some of the games from this past weekend before Monday Night Football begins, and I'm gonna throw in a little fun tonight. I've got some trivia, and it's not just football related; it's pop culture, and I've got some trivia for you tonight. So hopefully you'll have some fun with it.
All right, let's rip.
All right. So first, let's start. Let's go all the way back to last Thursday night, October 31st, on Halloween. We had the Texans at the Jets at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. The Jets at 2-6 at this point are they can't get anything going. And they've got the Texans, a strong Texans team coming to town. And first, let's go over the game real quick. So the Jets have a really good showing. First half was dismal as always. It was a little bit of a mess. And then all of a sudden they woke up. Garrett Wilson had probably one of the best catches of the year, maybe in NFL history. And the Jets take the win 21-13. They were minus, I think, 2.5 point favorites, which JJ Watt and every other expert out there was thinking that was ludicrous because the Jets stunk it up to that point. So, Jeff, what were your thoughts on Jets and Texans?
Kind of a snooze fest, honestly. We wrapped up. That was on Halloween, so over here we wrapped up trick or treating, and we got back, and we got back just around kickoff, and the first half was just boring, right? It was a pretty boring game, but then things picked up in the second half. I know that a lot of people are pretty high on the Texans. Like, I also thought that line was a little bit wonky, but usually they know stuff that, the average people don't know.
Right.
I haven't been too high on the Texans. Now that they have all of those injuries, they look pretty mediocre, which I think, if that conference was a little bit, or if that division was just like the slightest bit better, that they would have some competition in that division. But,
yeah,
fortunately for them, everybody in that division has been pretty terrible this year. But just a slow game, but, I think that Jets fans have at least something to be optimistic about. You get a win, and anytime you get a win in the NFL, it starts to get that momentum going a little bit. But, if you're relying on Garrett Wilson on long third or fourth downs to make miracle catches to beat a Texans team that's pretty beat up, I kind of think it's going to be a little bit more same for the Jets. But a little bit boring, but I think it's exciting for Jets fans to actually see that offense come to life a little bit. And, Garrett Wilson, he's just a special, special player.
He is. He's a freak. And yeah, I thought the same thing. And we're going into halftime, and I'm like, good Lord, is this just going to be another dismal Jets performance? And they woke up. I mean, it just seems like Rodgers, and maybe this is going to be the game that breaks them out. And their defense has been relatively strong all year, but Rodgers has been just a little bit off, like just missing passes a little bit this way, a little bit that way, a little bit overthrown. And that 3rd and 20 throw that he throws to Wilson, I mean, Wilson
not a great throw.
Right, not a great throw. He makes a miracle catch, and all of a sudden the Jets, they come to life and win the game. But that may be the thing that turns them around, and maybe turns around Rodgers for the rest of the season.
I think that everybody's waiting to see Aaron Rodgers of old, but I mean, not a lot is being accounted for the fact that he's coming off of an Achilles injury. He missed an entire year. He's at the age that he is. Everybody likes to think that these guys can just bounce back and become exactly the same player that we want to remember them as. But it's not surprising that Rodgers is struggling, especially, given all the things that he's dealing with. But NFL is a little bit more fun when the Jets are actually fun to talk about, and people are getting excited about it. So hopefully they rip off a couple wins and we can at least make some things interesting.
I agree with you. The NFL is more interesting when Aaron Rodgers and the Jets are a topic of discussion, because the Cowboys stink right now. But
they'll still talk about them, but they might not be fun to talk about.
No, and we'll get to them in just a minute. All right, here's your first trivia question. What 3 receivers had over 90 yards in the Jets versus the Texans? What 3 receivers?
Well, I know Garrett Wilson. Got him in fantasy.
Check.
Man, was Nico Collins healthy for that one?
He was not.
He was not.
So who
Ah,
was the number one option for the Texans?
I don't even know.
I know it's the Texans wide receivers are obscure. So I'll give you the second.
Couldn't have been Joe Mixon.
No, it's Tank Dell.
Tank Dell. Okay, that's well. Okay, that makes sense. And then the
And
third one's Devontae Adams. Did he have over 90?
that's
Yeah,
it.
I knew he had a touchdown. I didn't know if he got over 90 though.
I should have broke out my music of like ding 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 every time you get something right. So, all right, we're moving in. Let's go to the Sunday 1:00 games, and the first one on my list here is the Cowboys and Falcons. So it ends up 27-21 in Atlanta. Falcons are overachieving right now. Cowboys are underachieving. This game was not as close as the score says, 21-27. It was more like a 27-10 type game. Kirk Cousins goes again, just has a strong game, 19 for 24, 222 and 3 TDs. Bijan, another good game with 86 yards on the ground. Mooney, who's kind of turned into Cousins' number one option, has 5 receptions for 88 yards and 1 TD. But Jeff, what's your takeaway from Falcons Cowboys?
I think the Cowboys are really good at getting blown out, but keeping the score line at a respectable score, because this was a game that they didn't really have much of a chance in. And I know that people especially with Atlanta's been a team that's been talked about down here in Tampa quite a bit, because when you're talking about, who's going to win the division, that's usually the team that comes up. And, they could be overachieving, but I actually think they're just a pretty good team.
Okay.
Kirk Cousins runs that offense pretty efficiently. I know Drake London, he looked like he picked up a little bit of something, but they have a bunch of weapons at wide out. I mean, their defense wasn't really tested. I think that their defense gives up a lot of points, but the Cowboys offense just can't do anything right.
Right.
So I think that game kind of went to plan the way that people would expect. I keep thinking that Dallas is going to turn it around at some point, because at some point you'd think that they would win a game, but I just think that they're bad. I think they're just a bad football team this year, and it's only going to get worse. I think Dak picked up a hamstring injury now.
Yep.
So I really think it's only going to get worse for the Cowboys, but just a nice, easy win for Atlanta. They're stacking up these wins, put another one in the back pocket, and Kirk Cousins is kind of the opposite of Rodgers. He's settling into his new offense pretty efficiently.
Yeah, Kirk has always been a solid quarterback, and I think that's all Atlanta really needed, because they have the talent, they've got the tools. They just needed a capable quarterback to come in there, and they had Desmond Ritter and a couple other guys.
Platoon, a revolving door for a while.
Yeah, but you're right about the NFC South. I mean, the Saints and Carolina Panthers stink. We're going to talk about them. They played each other this weekend in a minute. But yeah, the Cowboys, I tweeted out a couple times last night. I mean, they're not good. They're not a very good team. They're a mediocre team at best, so they'll compete some days. But they are exactly what their record should be. I mean, they're and I think, Dak, again, you talked about the hamstring. He also had a hand injury. It looked like his hand was blown up and bleeding. He also said, "We effing stink," into the camera last night, or to his friend, or to one of his teammates, and the camera caught it. I think Dak knows it's going to be a tough season unless they do something with that offensive line.
Yeah, and I don't know how they get out of the problems that they're having either. They've paid a bunch of money, and they're tied up to a lot of people, and it might almost be one of those things where it's time to start fire selling some people out of there before the trade deadline or something, to try to free up cap space and just call it for what it is.
Yeah, see if they can get Ezekiel Elliott off the team again. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, he got suspended for disciplinary reasons.
I know, it's probably because he walked in the locker room and was like, "We are terrible," and they're like, "Get out of here."
What's he doing?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, trivia question number 2. The Cowboys were led in this game in receiving by tight end Jake Ferguson. What famous influencer does he date? And let me give you a little bit of a hint. She goes to the University of
he dates
Miami.
one of the twins. He dates one of the twins. I don't know which one. Which one, but I know her sister dates Carson Beck.
Carson Beck. That's right. Okay, so this one I had to literally look it up because I can't tell them apart either. It's Haley Cavender. They're still going to school in their 7th year at the University of Miami. Got the huge on NIL deals, and but good for Jake Ferguson. There you go.
Good for both of them.
Good for both.
Who doesn't love a little love?
Yeah, that's right. Good for those boys. All right, next one. Travel up to Buffalo for the Bills and Dolphins. A surprisingly competitive game because the Dolphins have stunk this year, but the Dolphins may be starting to show some signs of life. And I say that with Lord, I hope Tua doesn't get hurt, because they're obviously better when he's in the game. But Josh Allen goes 25 for 39 for 235 with 3 TDs again. Devin Achane has a decent game for the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill has 4 for 80. And actually, really good game right down to the buzzer. And the Bills hit it with about 5 seconds to go to win it on a field goal with Tyler Bass. But the Bills are really good. So here's my question, Jeff. The Bills are good. They're pretty good. They're going to be a competitive playoff team. And the Dolphins played with them. So did the Bills play down or did the Dolphins play up?
I think that this is the first time the Dolphins have played a game the way that you were expecting them to play this year, right? The Dolphins were a team that before Tua got hurt, they were supposed to be in the mix in the AFC. You know, they were very optimistic about their chances to make a playoff run. So I think this is just really the first time that the Dolphins have pieced everything together a little bit. And eventually, you know, they're going to start beating some teams that are probably in the playoff race more than they are. But, you know, and it's a little bit too late for that team right now. But I just think it's an example of getting the Dolphins finally playing some good football.
Yes, absolutely. And that's good. It's good to see I think like we talked about, the NFL is more fun when certain teams are competitive. The Dolphins, I mean, that stat from earlier this season where they, obviously they beat Denver with 70 points last year. And then 5 or 6 games through the season, they just gotten to 70 points. And they were really fun to watch last year. Every primetime game is like, oh, the Dolphins are on. Let's watch it because it'll be, a track meet out there. And they're going all over the place with Waddle and Tyreek Hill. And all their running backs who are super talented. But yes, it's good to see the Dolphins back. But the Bills, I continue to think that they're going to be a really competitive playoff team. Probably have some nightmare against the Chiefs again or something.
They're definitely in the conversation. I think top 3 teams in the AFC, they definitely belong in that conversation for sure.
I agree. Okay, your trivia question on this one. What was the name of the legendary head coach of the Buffalo Bills in their run of 4 Super Bowls in the 1990s?
Oof. I feel like this is something Wayne, the founder of Smack, has probably told me before, but I don't remember. I don't know. I don't know that one. Don't even have a good guess for you.
Yeah, you want to call a lifeline? No, it was Marv Levy. Marv Levy.
Wouldn't have gotten that one.
It's only because I've watched the documentary on the ESPN 30 for 30. By the way, that shirt that you have on, the Shake and Bake shirt, you guys obviously Smack Apparel, you make your own shirts, tons of different college, NFL, tons of different stuff. So tell the fans out there about Smack Apparel.
Yeah, Smack Apparel, we make, we're just a bunch of sports fans, and we make T-shirts for other sports fans. We're non-licensed, so we get to get a little bit creative with what we're doing. We tap into what the fans really enjoy, and we like to just have fun with our T-shirts. We like to think that we make shirts that, stand out in a tailgate. They stand out at a bar. There's some times where we'll see people wearing Smack Apparel shirts, and people want to take pictures with them because they think the shirt's so funny. So we like to make T-shirts for the sports fans that are really diehard and passionate, and try to make shirts that speak to the emotions, and really just shirts that are fun to wear. So if you're looking for that type of gear, especially this holiday season, they make a good gift. And anytime that we go to these stores now, the license gear costs like $45 for a T-shirt.
Yeah.
So we like to keep our prices fan friendly as well. So it's a good option, especially for the holidays.
Man, that was well done.
Thanks. I'm rehearsed.
Yeah, you got your pitch down. No, it's good. You got some great shirts on there, so everybody go check it out. All right, let's move on to our next game. We've got the Raiders visiting the Bengals in Cincinnati. This was really a one-sided affair, and the Raiders kind of stink. The Bengals, who I've had on my list the last couple weeks of teams on the rise, but then they have a terrible game. They score 41. Burrow goes 27 for 39 for 251 and 5 touchdown passes. And the only shining light for the Las Vegas Raiders was Jacoby Myers with 8 receptions for 105. But pretty lopsided affair in Cincinnati. Bengals get the win at home. Jeff, your thoughts?
I like the Bengals. I hope that they start to pick it up. For me, they're one of the most fun teams in football. And I'm a little bit worried that they're starting this climb too late this year.
Yeah.
Because this is what they do every season. They start the season off slow, and then they get hot. And then when they're in the playoffs, they can beat anybody. I'm hoping we get that Bengals this year, but the Raiders stink. They're a terrible football team. So it was a perfect setup for, Cincinnati to get a big win that they absolutely needed. And hopefully this starts building their momentum because, like you said, they'll win a game, They'll win a couple of games, then you think, okay, they're going to start doing it, and then they'll lose a game that leaves you
Right.
shaking your head a little bit. So hopefully this starts to climb, because I love Joe Burrow in the playoffs. That's just must see TV, and
That's
I
right. It's
think that
electric.
that'd be a lot of fun if he made it back.
I agree. They're 4-5 right now. They the way the AFC's going, they could compete for a playoff spot, and I think
Tough division too, though. Tough
Yes.
division.
Right.
Harder than years past.
Yes, it is. The Ravens, they are tough. Okay.
Steelers too. They had a bye. I think
Yeah.
the Steelers are
I know.
really
The Steelers
good.
might be better with Russell Wilson and I think
Yeah.
most people would probably say that at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, your trivia question number 4. What famous child actor dressed as Joe Burrow for Halloween?
Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin.
I'm better at the pop trivia ones than I am the football ones.
That's okay. You're probably going to get a couple of each. So, all right, let's go to Cleveland for an absolutely disgusting matchup between the Chargers, who are now 5-3, and the Browns, who for some reason they just broke out with Jameis Winston last week and got a win. It was a shocker for everybody. But the Chargers come into town, kind of a taking care of business type game. Herbert goes 18 for 27 for 282 and 2 touchdowns. J.K. Dobbins has a great game. The offensive line for the Chargers just shoving the Browns all over the field. Again, J.K. Dobbins, 14 for 85 for 2 TDs, and Johnston for the Los Angeles Chargers, 4 for 118 for 1 TD. He had that big one down the sideline. What'd you think of Chargers versus Browns?
My wife went to Florida State, so I grew up, and I rooted for Jameis Winston very hard when he was on the Bucs, and I wanted that to work out. And then last week, it was so exciting to see him win, and I was drinking all the Kool-Aid. I was like, Jameis Winston's going to save Cleveland. He's going to save Cleveland football. It's going to be the best comeback story ever. But then we got Jameis, we got the other side of Jameis this week. And I just think the Chargers are just better. They play better football. They were dominant, like you said, dominant in the trenches. And they're a team that's kind of slowly piecing it together as well with Harbaugh at the helm. So, just my main takeaway from this game was just sad as a Jameis lover that he wasn't able to save the city 2 weeks in a row.
Which is kind of just like every Browns fan. It's just sadness.
I told some friends from Cleveland that I was going to be a Cleveland fan now, and they're like, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a factory of sadness. Okay,
that should be a T-shirt. Cleveland, Factory of Sadness.
Factory of Sadness. Boom, we just made one. All right. Trivia question number 5. What was the name of the stadium that the San Diego Chargers played in San Diego? They probably had multiple names, but what was the one that was the longest? Do you remember?
Nope.
Okay. Qualcomm, I think, was the longest.
Oh, I actually might have been able to. If I would have had that on multiple choice, I think I would have gotten
it. Okay. So, like, just give you 3 tech companies, and you would have been like, it's got to be Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. All right. Let's head down to Nashville, just to the west of me here in Johnson City, Tennessee. Titans and the Patriots, basically the game that no one wanted to watch in the country, and was pretty close and went to overtime. So, but the Titans get the victory 20-17. The Titans are now 2-6. The Patriots are 2-7. Both teams are, I don't know, barely watchable. But Mason Rudolph goes 20 for 33 for 240 and 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard with a breakout game for the Titans, 28 for 128 on the ground. And Calvin Ridley has another good game with Mason Rudolph, who Rudolph's basically made Calvin Ridley his favorite receiver, 5 for 73. Any thoughts on Drake May and the Patriots or Mason Rudolph and the Titans?
When Will Levis got hurt, I had to Google who the Titans' backup quarterback was. A crazy quarterback plan that they have down there in Tennessee. Crazy quarterback plan. But the only play I watched from that game was probably the only play that everybody saw from that game, which was a Drake May 4th down touchdown pass to tie the game with the end. And that was awesome. Like, if I'm a Pats fan, I'm like, wow, we have hope just from that one play.
Right. He's got some arm talent.
Yeah. I didn't watch another second of that game, so I can't pretend like I'm an expert. But Calvin Ridley, usually throwing the ball to Calvin Ridley is going to be the best player of attack. So it's probably smart football by Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, and with DeAndre Hopkins leaving Nashville, it's made Ridley wide receiver 1, which he kind of was before, but I think there's probably some drama there, and now he's the clear wide receiver 1. And so they're better for that. Levis was.
I couldn't name one other wide receiver on that football team.
No, I can't either, and I live in Tennessee, so there you go. Yeah. It's not possible. I don't know if they have any other receivers, to be honest.
Yeah, not that I've heard of.
Not that I've heard of. All right, here we go. Here's a good one for you. I had no idea, so I do not expect you to get this one, but you just might pull this one out. Where did Mason Rudolph go to college?
Miami, not Miami of Ohio. No. I feel like I might know this. Is it one of those like Eastern Michigans?
No, this one
No.
again. This
Where'd he
was like
go?
I had to look it up, and I was like, "What?" He went to Oklahoma State.
What?
I know, and somebody could
How
fact
long
check me on
ago?
that, but I Googled it, and that was what I found out. So
How long ago? I feel like he's been in the league a long time.
I think he's 47 years old. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, how long ago was it when he got a helmet thrown at him in a game? That wasn't for the Steelers.
That was a good one. That was a good. I mean, he made a living just chilling back there in Pittsburgh for a very long time.
Yeah, it's great being a backup quarterback. Maybe a third string quarterback, because as a backup, you're going to make it into the game unless you're Jared Goff's backup quarterback. Okay, next one. Let's go down to Charlotte and another just battle of horrible, sad teams. And one of the teams fired their coach today. So that says all you need to know about this game. But the Panthers win in Charlotte at home 23-22. Alvin Kamara goes 29 for 155. Go Vols. Derek Carr throws a couple hospital balls to his wide receivers, goes 18 for 31 for 236 and a touchdown. Carr always has like decent stats, but he almost gets one of his receivers killed every week. There's really no stats for the Carolina Panthers because I think they had under 250 or 150 total. I think they had under 250 total yards. But Chuba Hubbard had a touchdown and the Panthers win, and Charlotte, all 47 people that were at the game, had a great time and watched them win. So thoughts on the Panthers and the hapless Saints?
I actually have a lot of thoughts on this because, as I mentioned before the show, I was in a survivor pool that was 33,000 people, and it was all the way down to 500. And I tried to push it one more week with a bad team, and I picked the Saints in my survivor pool. So I was very invested in this game, and I watched the entire thing. The Saints are so terrible. They are so terrible. Like, they would punt the ball 30 yards. They would, all they had to do was keep the ball for one possession to win the game, and they got like 3 holding calls, an offensive face mask, a bad punt to follow that up. They were so terrible. And then I know so much about this game and I shouldn't. And then on 4th down, it was 4th and 4. The Saints had the ball on 4th and 4 at midfield. And all they had to do was get a field goal to win the game. And Derek Carr drops back and throws a contested fade route 30 yards down the field. And the guy just bats it out of the air and the game was over. It was almost like they were trying to get their coach fired, how bad they were playing. It enrages me that I picked the Saints. I didn't realize they were that terrible with Derek Carr at quarterback, but they're terrible. They might be the worst team in the league. Terrible. And they fired. I hate the Saints.
And being in the NFC South, that you must love to hate them. But yesterday you had some skin in the game.
I hate them so much more now. Like, the one time I wanted them to come through, they're playing the Panthers, and they couldn't even do it.
Terrible. Man. And they fired. Breaking news here. Actually, it's not breaking news. Dennis Allen was fired today.
Derek Carr should be next. He should be next. Get him out of there.
He's been now fired by 2 teams, once as an offensive coordinator and once as a head coach. I'm not sure how he got hired as a head coach after being fired as an offensive coordinator, but there's a lot of puzzling things in the NFL. So let's go to your trivia question. Okay.
I actually think the Panthers, they're starting to show a little fight. They played Denver close last week, which is why I'm so mad at picking them. Is why I'm so mad at picking against them, because I was like, I think that they're actually getting a little bit better. They're getting a little bit better. They might actually beat a couple teams here down the stretch.
Yes, they might. And Canellis he's a good coach. I mean, everywhere he's been successful on the offensive coordinator
and it's just
side.
It's so optimistic. It makes you want to just like.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think the Panthers have some hope. They just don't have a lot of players. They don't have a lot of talent. I don't know. You got to get some horses in there. Actually, I don't have a trivia question for you. I have one for the next game. So, it's because I skipped one. That's why. I do have a trivia question for you. Okay, So the trivia question was, who was the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers in their first Super Bowl run, or their first?
Jake Delhomme.
Jake Delhomme is correct. Bonus question: what was the year? Do you remember? Because I didn't when I Googled it. So
I know that they lost to the Patriots.
yes,
I think it was Brady's second Super Bowl.
that's correct.
Oh, but what year was that?
I know it's a hard one.
I wrote a children's book about Brady's Super Bowl run, so I should remember this. Oh man, 2004.
4 is correct.
Oh,
Oh,
no
got it. Nailed it.
Rabbit out of the
2004.
hat on that one.
Yes. Yes. I think the final score was 32-29. Field goal by Adam Vinatieri to win it. That was a great Super Bowl.
Classic. A great Super Bowl. That was a great Panthers team.
Yes. That was a great Panthers team.
They were pretty new to the league then, too. So I remember it being pretty cool that they made that run.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's go back to New York. They had a Jets game, then they had a Giants game. This one was actually fairly competitive, but the Commanders have been strong all year. Jaden Daniels, again, with another nice performance, 15 for 22. He didn't get my running prop, so I was pissed at that. But 15 for 22.
Ribs.
I know he doesn't want to. I know. Why did I take a 50-yard running prop on Daniels when he's got broken ribs? 15 for 22 for 209 and 2 TDs. Yeah, Daniel Jones plays okay. When he has blocking, he's not the worst quarterback in the world. But the Commanders do take the win. They were up significantly going into the second half, and the Giants had a decent comeback, but still it finished 27-22. Your thoughts on Commanders Giants?
The Commanders are just like winning like a vet team. They're just efficient, and they're just starting to stack up wins. I mean, obviously one of the best stories in NFL, but a lot of fun to watch. And I think that they're actually a competitor in the NFC. I think that the Giants, it must be so infuriating to be a Giants fan because they do just enough to stick around in every single game, but they don't have enough to win them.
Yes.
And the Daniel Jones conundrum is like, it's a very serious one because he's not bad.
Right.
Like, he's actually not a bad quarterback, but he's not going to win you a Super Bowl. But there's only so many of those guys out there.
Right.
It's kind of like, what's the move? Do you go rookie and start all over? I don't know.
I know. They just paid him, too. I mean,
that's a tough situation out there. I feel like he might be one of those guys where 5 years from now, we're looking at it and we're like, oh, wow, Daniel Jones is really good. He just had to get off the Giants.
Yeah. He actually has decent career stats. That's what we're going to look at. Yeah. Like, he wasn't that terrible, except he always looked like a deer in headlights every time that anyone ever ran at him. So, all right. So, Commanders get the win. Your trivia question for this one was the Washington Commanders, formerly known as the Redskins, of course, were coached by this current NASCAR team owner.
Oh, Joe Gibbs.
Joe Gibbs, correct. And your bonus question on this one is, how many Super Bowls did Joe Gibbs win?
Ooh.
I had to look this one up, too.
I think they've won 3 as a franchise. That is correct. Was he the head coach for all 3?
Yes, they won 3 in the 80s, and all with Joe Gibbs at the helm. So there you go. Nice job.
Restore the glory. Great Smack Apparel shirt.
Yeah, they might be back. I don't know. The Commanders / Redskins / Washington football team. They're pretty good. All right, this next one.
Washington football team the best. I think that was the best.
Yeah, that was classic. That's like just the
new straight to the point.
It's like the Utah Hockey Club. They were just like, all right, we're not going to be called the Yeti or anything else. We're just going to call ourselves the Hockey Club. Whatever. Here we go. Next one. We're going to Baltimore. One-sided affair here. The Ravens are really good. Every time I look at the stats or any sort of like advanced analytics, the Ravens are at the top, even though they're 6-3. But they win 41-10 over the Broncos. My boy Bo Nix doesn't have a very good day, which he's a rookie, so that's going to happen. But Lamar Jackson just 16 for 19, but for 280 yards and 3 TDs. Mr. Reliable, who the Cowboys really could have used, Derrick Henry for 23 for 106 for 2 TDs. Also the automatic TD or anytime TD of the year. Zay Flowers, another great performance from him, 5 for 127 for 2 TDs. Your thoughts on the Ravens Broncos?
I just think the Ravens are an absolute wagon. I mean, I don't know how you slow that team down, except, if Lamar has the playoff yips again. I don't know how you slow that team down. Maybe the Steelers and their defense can do it. they're just a wagon. I actually think Denver's a pretty decent football team this year,
Yeah.
and I like Bo Nix a lot. I think that he's an efficient quarterback, but they stepped up a class and just weren't ready for it. But the Ravens are probably the best team in football, so it is what it is. But they're a wagon.
Yes. Statistically, I think they are the best team in football, other than this crazy team playing tonight against your team, who's, I don't know how they are, but they're 7-0. But we'll talk about them in just a minute. Okay, let's go to Philadelphia and the Eagles Jaguars, which probably most people watching this game were thinking this is an easy walk for the Eagles, who'd been playing pretty good as of late, but they just squeak it out 28-23. Jalen Hurts goes 18 for 24 for 230 and 2 TDs. Saquon has a ridiculous game, 27 for 159 and a TD and a backwards hurdle that went all over social. Devontae Smith, fantastic performance. Four receptions for 87, 1 TD, had a great catch. What do you think about the Eagles, Jaguars, and Philly?
That whatever it was, the hurdle backwards. I mean, as somebody that followed Penn State closely when he was in college, he's like back to having a lot of fun playing football, and it's fun to see. But I mean, again, I thought the Eagles, I caught the tail end of it when the Jaguars were making that comeback. A couple fluky plays kind of led them into it, and I thought actually Trevor Lawrence is settling in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's another thing where I think it's just too little too late for the Jaguars. They're starting to play a little bit better football, but their record has them down in the dumps. But I thought it was a good competitive game towards the end. But again, like you said, the Eagles are starting to pick it up, and, adding Saquon's similar to adding Derrick Henry. Like, it evolves their offense and changes their offense a little bit and makes them a lot more efficient. And it's fun to see those types of running backs kind of reviving their careers the way that everybody thought they would be.
Yeah, I bet there's some teams that wish they had Henry, and I bet the Giants wish they still had Saquon. Watching that unfold,
it's good
on
for
Hard
football
Knocks,
that he's not on the Giants, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's good to see him on a good team, so he actually gets to shine a little bit.
Yeah, and he'll be in the playoffs, and it'll be fun to watch and see what he does. Does he have some dominant performance in the playoffs? So we shall see. Okay, the Baltimore Ravens. So this is your next trivia question. Number 9, the Baltimore Ravens were named after a famous poem written by which poet?
Edgar Allan Poe. It's got to be.
Correct. Yeah, the famous story of the Raven poem by Edgar Allan Poe. By the way, there's a movie on Netflix. I can't remember what it's called, but it's with Christian Bale, and it's a fictional story that has a kid playing Edgar Allan Poe in it, and it's a fantastic. It's called like The Pale Eye or something like that, but it's all about Edgar Allan Poe, and it's a fantastic movie. So there you go. There's your movie recommendation of the week.
Noted.
Yeah, it's a good, compelling sort of murder mystery. And
I went back and started watching Game of Thrones again for some reason. So Three-Eyed Raven, another Raven, just shouting out another famous Raven.
There you go. Love it. I just watched the comeback, the 2004 Story of the Red Sox, which is over my shoulder, but nobody can see it of the picture. So that's what I just finished watching on Netflix, and it was fantastic to relive those moments. All right, here we go. We're going to Arizona, another upstart team, another team on the rise right now. The Arizona Cardinals win 2 in a row. They beat the Bears, who just looked awful yesterday, 29-9. Caleb Williams looks like a rookie quarterback, which is some weeks he looks okay. This week he looked awful. 22 for 41 for 217, overthrows, underthrows. Connor for Arizona goes 18 for 107, another solid game from him. What are your thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals and the Chicago Bears?
I like Arizona this year. I think that Kyler Murray's starting to settle in a little bit more and, figure out this NFL game and being more comfortable. And, the Bears, I feel bad for Bears fans because it's just like, when is it going to end? You get the quarterback. I think they got to get they need to get a new coach in there. It seems like that people might be turning on the coach a little bit, but I also think that the Cardinals are actually a competitor in the NFC West this year. I don't think that they could do much in the playoffs, but the way that division is, I think that they have a chance to win that division, and I think that's 3 in a row for them. So I think that they're, kind of humming a little bit.
Yeah, they look like they should win 29-9, and if I was playing them next week, I'd be afraid that they're really solid.
They're on the up for sure.
That's a stock to buy right there. Okay, so let's see. Okay, your Arizona Cardinals trivia question is: which Major League Baseball team selected Kyler Murray in the MLB draft?
Ooh, not the Yankees.
Mm-mm.
Oh man, I don't know.
I'll give you a hint that the team just left town.
Oh, the A's.
The Oakland A's in 2018 drafted Kyler Murray, but
He
he got
probably made the right call on that one.
yeah, even though Major League Baseball contracts are pretty thick.
Yeah, that's true.
But
That's true.
yeah, who knows? Who knows where? But you never know if you're going to make it to the majors when you get into the minors. So who knows? All right, we got a couple more games to go through before we get to our Monday night football prognostications. We got Lions and Packers in Green Bay. Ugly day in Green Bay. It's like 40 degrees and raining. The Detroit Lions continue to just steamroll through, even though the Packers team that's very capable. Jordan Love looked great again, other than the INT. They really just had to run the ball the whole time. Even though, of course, Amon-Ra had a touchdown, and the Lions are really good. I mean, when you look at Ravens, Lions, Chiefs, let's go around the NFL. I mean, you've got to put the Lions in probably every top 3 list in the NFL. But what are your thoughts, Lions, Packers from Green Bay?
The thing about the Lions is I think that they can really beat you any way they want to, right?
Yeah.
This game became a running game, and they just pounded the ball. They ran it right down Green Bay's throats and had no problems with it. And then when they need to open it up, when they're in the dome and they need to throw it, they can throw it too. So it's kind of similar to the Ravens. It's just a team that you kind of expect them. Maybe they'll slip up one week, or maybe something feels like a trap game, and then they beat the Titans by 50 points, and they're not getting trapped at all. So it just kind of seems like one of those teams that's on a mission and didn't like the way that the season ended last year, and they've only gotten better. And it seems like they keep getting better week to week. So just a wagon. I think that Green Bay is a good football team. I think that they can make the playoffs, but
Yes.
in that NFC, I just don't think anybody's on Detroit's level right now. And I'm not sure who's going to catch up either, honestly.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Lions, just as strong as it gets in the NFC. Packers are probably going to be a competitive playoff team. And if Jordan Love's on and he's inside a dome, watch out because he could light it up. But the Lions take this one at the frozen tundra. Okay, let's go to Seattle. This was a good game. LA Rams against the Seahawks, 26-20. The Rams win it. I had that one on my picks this week, as that was probably against the grain, as the Seahawks at home, usually favored, usually going to take them, and the Seahawks have a strong defense. But the Rams take it again, and Matthew Stafford, another solid performance. Geno Smith has a great performance as well, 21 for 34 for 363 and 3 TDs. Jackson Smith and Jigba, one of my favorite names to say in the NFL, goes 7 for 180 and 2 TDs. So the Seahawks light it up, but the Rams take the win, and they're probably a team you'd probably look at and say they're on the up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the Rams are on the up. Seattle always plays teams tough at home, and they especially play teams in the NFC West always really hard. But, they squeaked out that win, and I think that the Rams are trending upwards. And I think one of the things I heard on the radios today about the Ram was just how they knew that Aaron Donald was going to be retiring soon, and they loaded up their D-line with talent.
Mm-hmm.
And they've just been stepping up. So they have young players stepping up on defense. Their offense, which, is capable of winning a Super Bowl, which we've already seen. They're just getting healthier and getting better. And I still think Matt Stafford's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So just again, it's another team out in that NFC West that, similar to Arizona, they're trending up. And I know Christian McCaffrey's coming back for San Fran, so that race could get pretty interesting here in a little bit. But I think the Rams are very much in the mix.
That's why we watch, right? That's why we watch.
That's why we're hooked.
That's why we're hooked, and we can't stop
out unless you're the Panthers and the Saints, and both of those teams are dead to me. So
everybody's NFC South is just dead to you, other than the Bucs. I did miss one question for the Detroit Lions, so here's a trivia question. The Detroit Lions, you'll love this one. The Detroit Lions backup quarterback is none other than this legendary Tennessee Volunteer who was on his way to winning a Heisman before he suffered an ACL injury.
I mean, I know this. Hold on.
All the Tennessee fans watching right now are like, seriously, man?
No, I know exactly. I just can't. The names, I'm drawing a blank on the name. Skinny, tore his ACL.
Yep.
Oh, who did they lose to when he tore his ACL? Probably shouldn't bring that up. Oh my gosh, how am I drawing this blank? Oh, tell me the name.
His name is Hendon Hooker.
Hooker.
God. Yes, I knew it would come.
I can't believe I drew that blank. That's a good backup quarterback for them to have, too.
It is, but Goff never comes out of the game, so it doesn't
Yeah,
really
is that
matter.
a point of contention in Tennessee? Let him spit a little bit.
We would love to
How did
see
I not remember
Hendon.
that name? He was
Yeah,
throwing the ball to Hyatt. He was throwing the ball to Hyatt.
you were just thinking about Joe Milton the whole time. That's what you were thinking about.
Hooker, Hypo, and Hyatt, the three H's.
That's
How could I
right.
not remember that?
That's right. That's absolutely right. All
I'm
right,
sorry, Tennessee.
let's go to Minnesota for our final game before we talk about Monday Night Football. The Colts and Vikings. Sunday Night Football last night, kind of a gross game. Flacco plays pretty bad for the Colts, and the Vikings take the win. Vikings score 0 in the first half, so probably everybody's concerned. Third game in a row, Vikings are struggling, but then they come out and they score 21 in the second half. Darnold looks pretty good again. Second half numbers caught him up. 28 for 34 for 290, 3 TDs. Aaron Jones, who I had the prop to go over 70 yards, and he only got 64. Pretty pissed about that one. Justin Jefferson, another all-pro performance, 7 for 137, and the Vikings get a home win. Your thoughts, Jeff?
Primetime Joe Flacco, I was expecting him to step up a little bit more because I do think the Colts are better when he plays efficient football. At least that's what's been the case so far this season.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm in the minority or the majority in this. I think Sam Darnold's really going to come back to earth. And I think that this Vikings team that started off really hot is going to start coming back down to earth a little bit once they get a little bit more divisional games and teams are healthier and start to figure it out. So I'm interested to see if the Vikings can keep up any type of pace or if this playoff, if they're going to end up being one of those teams that's fighting for a wild card towards the end of the season.
That's a hot take right there.
Is it a hot take?
Are the Vikings on their way down the hill instead of up the hill? I love this. I don't know.
Well, they started off so hot that it's like, and then teams start to figure out, oh, Sam Darnold can actually play football. And then from like the Sam Darnold side, he's never really been a quarterback, like a starting quarterback that's been in the mix and under this type of pressure in his entire career. So I hope he does well. It's a cool story, but it wouldn't shock me if they start trending the other direction.
Interesting. Okay. So that's
we'll
one
see.
to watch.
Bookmark that. If I'm wrong, I never said it. If I'm right, I'm going to pull it up.
Well, it's all right. Colin Cowherd says stuff every day that is terribly wrong, but he's still on the radio. So look at us. It could be us.
And he's on the radio a lot.
He's on the radio and TV everywhere. All right. Your last trivia question, Jeff. Here we go. Number 13. Sam Darnold has played for 4 NFL teams. Name them.
Jets, Panthers, San Fran, Vikings.
Done. Check. You got it. Ding, ding, ding. Way to go, buddy. All right.
Poor guy, man. Jets and Panthers to start it off.
All right. We are headed to Kansas City tonight for your Bucks taking on the 7-0 Chiefs. I'm going to give you the floor. What are your thoughts on tonight's game?
Oof. I think that the Buccaneers can't cover anybody over the middle. So Travis Kelce or the other tight end, whatever tight end they feel like featuring is probably going to have a really big day. I hope that the Bucs can at least keep it somewhat competitive and keep it interesting, but they're down their top 3 wide receivers, so that's not good for anybody. And unfortunately, the Bucs defense right now, it feels like they have to score on every single drive, and without Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, that's going to be really tough for them to do. I wouldn't be shocked if they put up a fight in the first half, and then Kansas City just kind of does what Kansas City does and pulls away in the second. That's kind of my prediction. I hope I'm terribly wrong. I hope the Bucs shock the world and win this game. But the realist in me kind of sees a team with a lot of fight, but fight doesn't always win games in the NFL when you don't have the talent, and the Bucs just don't have the talent right now because they have so many injuries.
Okay. That's interesting. And that helps me and informs me. The spread tonight is -9. So the KC favored by 9. I think the Bucs cover that.
That's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, especially it's 64 degrees there tonight in Kansas City. I think Baker, he's in the middle America. He's back there in, Oklahoma, Missouri, Iowa, Texas. He's a gunslinger. I think he's coming to fight tonight in prime time. I think they cover. Do the Bucs win? I don't know. I mean, the Chiefs, here's what's going to happen, Jeff. The Bucs are going to be up late, like 3 points. Chiefs are driving. Everybody knows Mahomes. And there's going to be some late pass interference call. It's going to get them down to like the 1. They're going to run it in, and they're going to win by 4. So I think the Bucs cover or the Bucks, or the Chiefs don't cover, but I think it's some fluke thing with the referees at the end of the game. There you go.
I think that the Bucks cover, because I don't think that Kansas City is like as good as Baltimore in the way that they can just like put you away.
Yes.
So like I feel like it could be a game that's probably dominated by the Chiefs, and it always feels like it's going to be comfortable, but the Bucks can fight enough to make sure that they don't get, completely blown out of the park.
Yeah.
If this wasn't on prime time, like if this wasn't Monday night NFL prime time game of the week and it was like a 1:00 game in Kansas City, I think the Bucks would have actually had a chance, because they might have caught Kansas City, sleeping a little bit just because they have so many injuries. But the fact that it's prime time is just a nightmare for the Bucks with how injured they are.
Yep. And that Taylor Swift's probably going to be there. So there you go.
Oh, maybe that'll inspire them.
Yeah, maybe that'll inspire.
Taylor Swift down here in Tampa.
That's right. Who doesn't? Come on. It's America. Speaking of America, go vote tomorrow, November 5th. Jeff, one more time, tell us about Smack Apparel, and then we'll say goodnight to everybody.
Smack Apparel, we make awesome t-shirts for sports fans. We've been around since 1998. We are an unlicensed company because we like to do things that really speak to the fans. We like to make really creative t-shirts for people that are just passionate about their teams, or maybe you want to stand out and talk a little smack about your rivals with your t-shirt and stand out from the crowd. So if you're looking for something like that, especially for holiday shopping, it makes a great gift. We've seen a lot of videos of people opening up these presents and just laughing because the shirt makes them feel some type of way. So if you want to check us out, it's smackapparel.com. And we're always pretty busy on social media too. You can follow us at Smack Apparel.
Yeah, that's a good follow right there. I like your content, buddy. It's always got a bit of a smack flair to it. It's always kind of smack talking and a little jokey.
We try to stay on brand. We try to stay on brand across the board.
Show me that shake and bake shirt one more time. That's the one I want. Shake and bake.
That's what we need. We need a miracle. Shake and bake.
That's right. All right, everybody. Enjoy Monday Night Football. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us on Honorable Mention. And